Hello folks, this is Sula once again. Welcome to another video for Teamfight Tactics. This is taken from a normal game. Looks like I have a Diamond player and a Masters player in this normal game with me. And we're going to be looking at a Syndicate team composition, and a team composition that's going to end up playing through Ahri as the main carry. So we're going to have to get to that unit, of course, because uh, Ahri is obviously a 4-cost unit. But that is the goal, and this is one of the 4-cost units that I've wanted to feature and haven't had a chance to do so yet. So here on the initial carousel, I was going for that Ezreal with the tier. Ezreal, a popular starting champion right now. Innovators are the overall strongest team composition in this version of Teamfight Tactics. This is played on the B patch for the release version of set 6.5. And right now, the Innovators definitely have the highest win rate of any of the team compositions, so they are heavily contested right now. In this game, I was looking to, well, I didn't have anything in particular in mind going into this one. I figured I would see what I could get and go from there. I did see that they were double Dariuses here, so I was immediately thinking, well, Darius, maybe I'll get some Syndicate champions and I could look to play Syndicate. And in fact, that is the direction that this game's going to end up going in. I've also found a VIP brand, and VIP brand can be a pretty good item holder for Ahri later on in the game. Like, you can run him as like your bridge unit to make it to Ahri later on. So that was a possibility. And then I get a sword here. So I've got sword, rod, and chain vest at the start. Here's where I get something that's really going to characterize my game. I have first aid kit as an option. All healing and shielding on your units is increased by 35%. This is a really good augment if you want to play syndicates. The whole notion of syndicates is they are units that kind of win fights by dragging them out with a lot of innate healing and a lot of innate shielding. So something that innately increases that is going to be very good for a syndicate team composition. The Syndicate Trait, what does it do? Well, it has been around since the start of Set 6, so it's probably not new if you've been playing Set 6, but for anyone who might be getting into the game or is unfamiliar with this, the Syndicate Trait adds armor, magic resistance, and omnivamp, which means that both your physical attacks and your magical attacks will provide healing for the unit. And so you get, like I said, armor, magic resistance, and this like innate omnivamp healing for your units. At Syndicate 3, only one unit gets the bonus, and at Syndicate 5, all of the Syndicate units get the bonus. If you can make it up to Syndicate 7, then all units, period, get the bonus. Not just the Syndicate units on your team. All of your units, even the non-Syndicate units, get the bonus. And it's also increased by, right now it's 60% it's increased by. So pretty substantial. Syndicate 7 is very strong, but it's hard to get there for obvious reasons because you need some kind of emblem in order to make an emblem or a heart or something like that. You can't get to Syndicate 7 normally. All right, well, while I've been talking about the Syndicate Trait, what's been going on is I got a very interesting drop from that last minion round. I had a Malzahar pop out along with a Zyra, and so this kind of confirmed that yes, I'm going to look to go in this direction of providing a Syndicate born and look to play into Ahri in the long term. My items were perfect to make a Gunblade on Malzahar. Gunblade as an item, it combines the sword and the rod. It provides innate healing with a percentage of the damage dealt both to the user, whoever the person's holding the Gunblade is, and also to one other unit on your team. So Malzahar has always been a very good user of Gunblade. Like, he will sit there and has like his little damage over time effect. His Malefic Visions, I think, is the official name. So like as it slowly burns away on people on the other team, he'll be healing constantly as well. And I think we had some games in the past. By the way, there's another Syndicate player in this lobby, and in fact has a better setup than I do. They have Payday, which is you get gold for it's like every Syndicate unit that survives the fight, you get additional gold for. So that is the potential to snowball in a hurry. And they also have a bunch of 2-stars. Like, if you look at my board, the only 2-star I have is Darius, which is important, don't get me wrong, but I haven't exactly hit a lot of Syndicate units thus far. I have the Zyra on my bench because she literally would do nothing if I put her in the comp right now. But keep an eye on this Gunblade. I get a little good RNG in this fight here because Caitlyn's ult just hits the Blitzcrank, who was, on low HP and about to die anyway. So now we're trying to see, can we make it through this Kassadin? And it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Gunblade healing, not quite enough. So that person did end up beating me. And I was like, that comp looks pretty strong. They have a bunch of 2-stars. They're probably going to look to win streak through the early game. Technical tap, excuse me. So yeah, I'm mostly just kind of sitting around here. There is another Darius. I was like, all right, I guess I'll pick this up because I might have to sell and transfer items off Darius later. And as soon as I find the Ziggs, I sell the brand. Ziggs is actually better for me. It looks like I am not going to play through Debonair Trait. I'm not going to run VIP brand in the early game. The Ziggs is better because he'll put Scrap Trade in play, and now Blitzcrank will roll a scrap item off that Chain Vest. So the reason why I picked up that Chain Vest was because I was hoping that I would be able to get Scrap Trade in, and then Blitz would roll a scrap item on it. Also, Blitz is going to be sold later on, so him having like a defensive item is not bad because we can just get rid of that later on. All right, so this board definitely looks a lot stronger than me. They've got a 2-star Nocturne and a 2-star Twitch, but here you're going to see the value of having that Gunblade. Malzahar is healing constantly, so instead of just dying instantly to Nocturne, as you would expect to have happen, he just keeps healing off his Gunblade, and so he survives the entire fight. And in fact, we end up winning and don't even lose a unit against that board that pretty clearly looks stronger than what we had. But that is the value of that early Gunblade. Malzahar is a very, very good user of it. And it's also considered to be one of Ahri's best items as well. So the good news is I won 2 of the first 3 rounds. The bad news is that means now I am 3rd pick on the carousel. I would like to get a tier because tier would allow me to start building towards items on Ahri. But that's not possible, so I can take a defensive item or I can take this sword. And I decided to take the sword because that actually can be used for some of Ahri's other items. Also, if I take a defensive item and I put it on Blitzcrank, he just won't roll a scrap item, so it's not going to be as useful right now. The sword, though, actually does have some value because the sword will allow me to run a potential Giant Slayer on Ahri, which is another one of her better items. Here I find a Debonair Leona, which again would be nice, except how do I get Leona into this comp? I could take Blitzcrank out, but then I would lose scrap. That doesn't feel useful, particularly with the fact that I don't have Debonair Trait to take advantage of Leona's VIP bonus. So I see that unit, I thought about it, ended up not purchasing it, and I'm just going to toss in the Zyra, even though she doesn't really do a whole lot in this comp. She can, like, absorb some pressure from Twitch, like Twitch and Talon are attacking her instead of attacking Malzahar. So I guess she technically bought a few seconds there for Malz. But mostly she's just in there because I don't have any other unit that I could play that would be more useful here. Would certainly play like another Scholar if I could find like Syndra. Oh wait, no, never mind. I'd lose Scholar if I took her out, so that would not be handy. By the way, look who's win streaking, the one team that I've already lost against. So it made me feel better that the team I lost against was in fact, did in fact appear to be the strongest person in the lobby. So that's good. No one else is win streaking. Anyway, so we're just kind of continuing to go along here. The first aid kit has been super useful as far as continuing to give me that extra healing and shielding. That applies to all healing and all shielding. So the healing from the Gunblade is doing extra work thanks to that first aid kit augment. And that is part of the reason why the Gunblade has been so useful here. I am getting a boosted performance on this. I have the possibility now to hit the other Syndicate player. I guess I technically could have hit them on any previous round, but now that the initial rounds have played out, we're down to the usual 3 opponents you can hit. And look, here we go. Here's the other Syndicate player. So this is the person I'm going to be contesting on units. They have Darius, and they have Ashe, and they have Morgana in already. So they already have a Morg. So they have 3 Syndicate in already. The good news for me is Darius is just going to get off another use of his ultimate. That's fantastic. Note that Darius does not have the Syndicate bonus in, and fortunately Kate decided to toss her ultimate on Ziggs, who is pretty useless, instead of on Malzahar, who is healing with that Gunblade, and I was like, looks like I'm actually going to win this. Zyra gets off another ult, Kate's going to pop Zyra, but that's not enough, and yeah, we beat a board that had 3 2-stars on it. I had 1 2-star on my board, so pretty happy with that result. Don't think I should have won that fight, but some good fight RNG allowed me to win, and I think I've been doing a good job of taking advantage of what has been given to me in this game. Whereas that other player, I mean, didn't have a bad board by any means, but kind of had, like I said, kind of had fight RNG go against them. I would very much like to get the Syndicate Trait in. I'm not benefiting from it at all. Darius would make great use of it right now, since he takes all that damage. He would get the extra armor and magic resistance as he took damage, but not happening so far. So, oh well, not something that's happened to up to this point in time. So we're gonna get another Chain Vest, and then we get another, and then we get a tier, which is great. having a tier is fantastic. I want 2 tiers because blue buff is probably Ahri's most important item. And Malzahar is a really good user of blue buff as well. I believe they both have the same mana cost. I'm actually going to check that right now. I've got the cheat sheet in front of me. So Ahri's mana cost is 50, and Malzahar's mana cost is 60. Okay, so they're very close, 50 against 60. So they both make really good use of a blue buff. Now I've got these extra tank items. I was like, well, I like having Blitzcrank roll a Chain Vest-based scrap item. Let's have him keep doing that. So I'll make Gargoyle Stoneplate and then also put another Chain Vest on him so that he will continue rolling those scrap items. He actually rolls Edge of Night here, which is kind of hilarious. So that's not as good for him as like a Bramble Vest, but, you know, it can work. The question here is, can we cut through the front lines quickly enough to stop this Lucian from dashing around? Lucian, not one of the stronger champions in the current makeup of the game, but does have that static shiv, which boosts his damage, so we finish him off, and then it's a 1-star Mauls against a 2-star Quinn, but Mauls is healing, and look at that, 800 health healed over the course of that fight, so we're going to win another one. Kind of a close fight, but we were able to win this one. Now, earlier I picked up the Kassadin because he could be a Scholar option, so I just went ahead and picked him up, and then I get 2 more Kassadins right as I hit stage 3-2. So I was like, all right, 2-star Kassadin, level to 6, toss him in. Another good unit to play. He's actually a pretty good frontliner at the moment, Kassadin. Obviously, he falls off as the game goes on because he's a 1-cost unit, but he's pretty good overall. He has one of the better win rates for units that are that have like no traits in. I think I saw a post somewhere along there that like if you have no traits in, Kassadin has a really good win rate, like amongst units that are not part of like a wider team comp. Like basically, if you just throw them in as a random unit, he's better than most other units that you throw in as random units. Anyway, so I was continuing to scout the other teams. You always should be doing this now that you have the little indicator of who you're going to hit here in set 6.5. And I spotted that this team had assassins. This was one of the 3 teams I could potentially hit. And they had assassins positioned on the left side. So I swapped my carries to the right side, and I was able to avoid that. Okay. Augment, another silver augment. None of these are particularly great for me, but I will go ahead and take Celestial because that also increases healing. More healing based on damage dealt, and Celestial also scales really well into the late game. So I've got First Aid augment for increased healing and shielding, and then I've got Celestial, which is more innate healing based on how much damage you do. And then I'm playing into Syndicate, which is going to give everyone, all the Syndicate units, Omnivamp on the team. Now it would be nice if I could just find another Syndicate unit. So this is a nice example of how to play your way through the game. I'm planning on playing Syndicate here. By the way, there's someone who has 5 mercenaries, so that's a potential danger long term. And another person who's playing Innovators and has that 2-star Nocturne and 2-star Echo. So some scary boards out there. But I'm pretty happy with how I'm playing. Obviously, hitting the early Malzahar has been great. And then I randomed my way naturally into a 2-star Mauls. And that is a very big deal because 2-star Mauls should be able to carry me throughout stage 3, hopefully into the early stages of stage 4. And then we can look to try and find an Ahri there. At this point, I would not transfer the items off Mauls unless I can find a 2-star Ahri, because 2-star Mauls is really good. So I will not look to get rid of Mauls until I can find, like I said, a 2-star Ahri. Yeah, so this person, we just win very easily. It's not even close. And with all that healing from Mauls, not a single unit ends up getting killed. So I put a big hit on whoever that other player was. They were one of the weaker comps in the lobby. And that Innovator player with the self-repair augment looks like the other strong player in the lobby right now. All right, so what am I looking for here? Well, I'd really like another tier to make blue buff. Part of the reason why I took the sword is because that does give me the option to make a Shojin if I have to. Shojin's not as good as blue buff on Ahri, but it is playable. It definitely helps. She really wants something to provide mana generation, either blue buff or Shojin, but preferably blue. And for a second there, I thought maybe the tier would actually stick around, but then no, of course it's gone, gets taken out. So I opt, well, I don't think I need another defensive item right now. I already have a lot of defensive items, so I'll go ahead, make use of this sword, go ahead and make Giant Slayer. By the way, I'm up to 6 Dariuses, so at this point I was like, alright, I guess I'll just hold and see if I get 3-star Darius, why not? I'm going to go ahead and make Giant Slayer, and this is also one of Ahri's best items. Right now, her best items are considered to be Blue Buff, Gunblade, and Giant Slayer. This may change because she's supposed to get tweaked in the upcoming patch that'll be out a day or two after this video gets posted. So this may change, but for the moment, these seem to be her best items. People have also said they had success running sometimes Warmogs, people have said, which is just to make her tankier. The basic idea is Ahri is going to sustain throughout the fights, and she gets stronger and stronger as the fight goes on. So just put a Warmogs on her, so she ends up sustaining and not getting popped, like in the early stages of the fight, so she has more time to ramp up. It's a little bit like how Akali in the previous set, in set 6, Warmogs was actually a pretty good item on her as well, because it just removed the danger of her getting popped at the start of a fight. So anyway, Warmogs can seem to be pretty good. I've heard Quicksilver Sash is also pretty good on her for the same reason. It provides a little bit more attack speed, and it also makes her immune to crowd control for the first half of the fight, so she can keep scaling up on orbs. So I've heard those are good items. In addition to that, by the way, we just beat the other person who was win streaking in the lobby. That was the person who was running the Innovators plus Nocturne with Echo, and had 2-star Nocturne and 2-star Echo. I saw that that was a comp that I could hit, so I swapped Malzahar way over to the right-hand side, and you saw what happened. The assassins jumped into my back line. They killed the Zyra, and then after that, they turned around and walked up to my tanks, which is exactly what I wanted. Once again, if there are no Blitzcranks amongst any of the other players you can hit, you can corner your carries completely safely, and that's something you should be looking to do. So, like, once again, here's another assassin-based team comp. Zyra's going to stand there and tank like a champ, so that's going to buy time for Malz to keep tossing out his visions, keep on healing up the enemy team. Also, Singe just tossed Darius into the back lines, and now he's tanking Twitch, who is the one I'm most worried about on this team. So, yep, all that healing. Malz does 4,200 damage and healed for 1,800 over the course of the fight. And, yeah, so also, by the way, Castan apparently shielded for like 800 in that fight. So, first aid kit doing work, Celestial Augment doing work, 2-star Malz keeping me safe throughout this game. So that went really well, and I'm extremely happy with how things have gone. I win streaked all the way through stage 3. So here I'm going to pick up the Senna. Senna gives me a rank of the Spotlight. She's also an Enchanter, so she is a unit I might want to play. But I believe that I sell her here because she wouldn't be played until at least level 8, and I don't want to hold her on my bench for that long. I figured I could always find Senna if I had to later on, but I didn't want to just hold her forever right now. Okay, so we get the golden orb drop here. I was like, is this a spatula? Is this a Nico? No, it's actually just champs. But that's not terrible. Getting more gold here is not the worst thing. So, like, that's going to allow me to make 2-star Morg, and then I'll just level and put in Morg. And now, finally, I have Syndicate Trait in on stage 4-1. This has been intended to be a Syndicate game all along, and I still have not found a... This is the first time I've actually found, or actually gotten Syndicate Trait in. So I could look to roll here if I wanted, but I'm feeling pretty strong. Let's go to level 8, and then we'll try to roll and find Ahri there, and any of the other units I want to put in this team comp. So if you're running Ahri, what are some other units you'd want to put in the team comp? Well, generally speaking, you're going to want 5 Syndicate. By the way, look at how we win this fight just off Lucian getting hooked. That's someone who is not paying his attention to positioning. So, of course, you're going to want to run 5 Syndicate. People have tried running Arcanist instead. It doesn't seem to be as good. Like running 3 Syndicate with 4 Arcanist, it seems better to run the 5 Syndicate because you really want the all the Syndicate units getting that armor and magic resistance and Omnivamp just to stall out the fights, because Ahri's whole purpose is stalling out fights so she can scale up with additional spell casts. So if you want the 5 Syndicate, then you're basically playing all the Syndicates except Ashe. Ashe is not really useful. So that's Darius and Braum for bodyguards, Morgana for Enchanter, Zyra for Scholar, and then Ahri is, of course, also a Syndicate. So then what do you pair with those other units? Well, you pretty much just pair traits with all of them. Well, Ahri is an Arcanist, so you can look to toss in another Arcanist, potentially. Malzahar initially, and then later on having... Victor is a nice use. Scholar, so you can put, Syndra in early is not bad. Syndra provides some more protection with her fling. Could be nice to have. Later on, can be Renata. It can be Silco. Silco in particular is nice because he can allow Ahri to get the first cast off more quickly and then start scaling up. So another Scholar tends to be good. And then at level 8, if you've got one more slot, generally you'd like to play another Enchanter to get up to 2 Enchanters. So Orianna tends to be a good choice. But Senna can also be a good fit if the Spotlight's in a good spot. Like, you might have a Spotlight that's where you want to position Ahri, and then it can be useful to run Senna instead for the Spotlight. So a number of different choices, to be sure. Lots of different options there. Here, by the way, I'm so close to level 8, I decide I'll just go to level 8. Why not? And I was like, let's just play another Darius. Why not? Another Darius, more frontline. Go, go, double Dariuses. So those are generally the ways that people build the comp. Obviously, augments can shift this around if you get different hearts or different souls or what have you. But like those tend to be the main things that you want to do in terms of playing. So +1 Scholar, +1 Enchanter, +1 Arcanist tend to be the most common things to put in. All right, so we've got someone who's playing Renata. This is actually playing Renata plus Syndicate, which is kind of weird. Looks like they're using... Oh, this is the other Syndicate player. Looks like they're having Renata as their item holder for Ahri, since they haven't found Ahri yet. Makes sense. But so this is another comp that's based on like slowing things down, dragging things out, but we just seem to be a lot stronger than this board, so we're going to win, and it's always nice getting wins against this person because they're contesting me on Syndicate units. Like, they've already found a couple... I think they have 2 Brahms already. One other thing you want to keep in mind is Morgana is kind of the main tank in this comp. I suppose if you hit 2-star Braum early, then Braum can also be a key tank, but it's usually Morgana is kind of the main tank in this comp. So Morgana, of course, will get the armor and magic resistance from the Syndicate buff. She'll get the Omnivamp from Syndicate. But the other big thing is she really wants additional enchanters because her ability puts a shield on her. And the more enchanters you have, the bigger the shield that she gets. By the way, this is kind of sad. Once again, I want to get a tier, but no tiers. Every time the tiers are lasting towards the end of the carousel, but they always get taken. I was kind of hoping they'd be on like a one gold champion or something, but they've been on these Brahms that are really too high priority for people to let them get through. All right, so we're level 8. Let's roll and see if we can actually find Ahri. I've certainly talked enough about her, and she hasn't shown up yet. So 2-star Zyra, that's nice. I really should pick up the Renata here because she's another option to play. She's another option to get Scholar in. Like, I would probably want to move out of the Kassadin long term. And I'm going to make 2-star Blitzcrank. I want Blitz to come out long term. I will hold the Morganas because I have the Morgana 3-star option. And there's finally Ahri, so I do want to get her into the comp, but it happens too late here. I don't want to replace the Mauls just yet. I will hold the Mauls. Note that I have a replacement Mauls on the bench, potentially. So I'll hold this for right now, with the goal being that I'll swap into Ahri. I can look to move out of the Ziggs, for example, and move out of the Blitzcrank. So that's going to be the plan here. Sadly, my win streak looks like it will finally come to an end because this person who's playing Reroll Twitch, Twitch plus Innovator is another very popular team comp right now, managed to get 3-star Twitch into my backlines, and that was not enough for me to survive. All right, different options here. Archangel's Embrace is really good for Ahri. Every time your champions cast, they gain ability power. Perfect for her. Ludens would have been a good choice earlier in the game, but at this point in time in the game, not that valuable. So now we've got Ahri in. We can move out of the Ziggs, but note that I still do not have 5 Syndicate in. I need to get another Syndicate unit in, so I need to get Braum into the team composition. So what I really need to do is finally replace the Blitz. There we go. That'll get 5 Syndicate in. And now the tank items that were on Blitzcrank can put them on Morgana. So let's try to reposition a little bit. Ahri does not want to be in the back row. She really wants to be in the 2nd or 3rd row because her attack only has a range of 5. So if you put her in the back row, she doesn't reach the back row of the other team. And that is an issue there. But I'm still trying to reposition, still trying to get my team set up. And I make another mistake here. I need to reposition the Mauls so that he is not in the corner because there's a potential Blitzcrank team I could hit. And look what it is. Yep, I have flubbed my positioning. And I knew this was the case. I just, like, at the last second, I was trying to click to get Mauls somewhere else, and I couldn't decide where to put him at the last second. So Mauls just gets popped instantly because he gets hooked by Blitzcrank. And this is really bad because I've, like, just thrown away a round that I 100% should have won off of not having Malzahar in the correct position. So he's my carry for the moment until I transfer items. Like, look how close this fight is. And this is with Mauls doing literally nothing in the fight. Like, imagine if he had survived. I win this fight very, very easily. But instead it's going to be, what, a close loss? And that's 7 hit points just completely thrown away needlessly. So very, very sloppy work on my part. All right, I am going to roll again after the minion round. I want to try to see if I can 2-star Ahri, but there's no point in rolling here when we just have a minion to fight. So what exactly does Ahri do? This is a good opportunity to talk about her. She is a new unit in set 6.5. She's basically the replacement for Lux, who was also a 4-cost Arcanist. But she plays completely differently from how Lux played. Lux was a burst caster. The whole goal of Lux was to kill the enemy backline instantly, and then get resets off the kills, and then just keep ulting again and again and again. So Lux was a burst caster who needed to kill things as quickly as possible. Ahri is the exact opposite. Ahri is a damage over time caster. She's very similar to Malzahar in that respect. Like, she kills things slowly over time, because every time she casts, she gets an additional orb. And there we actually do hit the 2-star Ahri. So because I hit 2-star Ahri, I will transfer these items over. So we want the Gunblade, we want the Giant Slayer, and sadly it does not look like I am going to get my blue buff. I could have had Shojin, I could have held out for that, but it's not an option. And from here on out, we will only get components, or excuse me, we only get finished items, not components. So there's no point just holding the tier on my bench. I suppose I could have made a Hand of Justice, which would be okay on Ahri, but I decided that I would rather make the Chalice, because Mauls can use the Chalice, Orianna can use the Chalice, and I thought that felt pretty good. So we're going to try to get Ahri's third item off a carousel, which there will be more of. So like I said, Ahri, every time her mana bar fills up, she casts an additional orb. So the first time she casts, she throws out 1 orb. The second time, she throws 2 orbs. The third time, she throws 4 orbs, and you get the idea. She just scales and scales over the course of the fight. The orbs can deal damage. They deal damage when they go out, and they deal damage on the way back. So she can deal damage twice with the orbs, and enemies can get hit by more than 1 orb. I believe they take 80% damage when they get hit by more than 1. So it's reduced somewhat, but you know, she can hit someone with like 5 orbs when she has all of them out there. And you can see that other person who's playing Syndicate has indeed managed to make Ahri, but I don't really like the way that their team is constructed. The blue buff plus Infinity Edge plus Jeweled Gauntlet, not really the itemization you want on Ahri. Again, her goal, she is not a burst caster. Her goal is not to kill things instantly in the fight. The goal is to stall out the fight for as long as possible and win the fights that way by getting more orbs. So I really don't think Infinity Edge Jeweled Gauntlet is the way to go. Like, Jeweled Gauntlet, not bad, but it's better to have like the Gunblade. As I mentioned before, the Giant Slayer is also quite good on her because of the additional attack speed. And like, we won very easily against that Innovators board. It wasn't a particularly close fight, even with Ahri not having the third item. So I'm actually missing her most important item, which is either blue buff or Shojin, because she really needs the mana generation. But even though I don't have that, she's still proving to be pretty effective in these fights. And look what we found. We found a Silco. Silco, very, very useful to play in this team composition because he will give extra mana to units at the start of the fight, and that will get Ahri off and casting faster. So we really, really do want Silco in this team composition. Silco was nerfed in the B patch. He was kind of ludicrously overpowered in the initial release version of 6.5. Was very heavily nerfed in the B patch. His Mastermind ability initially gave 40 mana to units standing in front of him. It was nerfed down to 30. It was actually 50 on the PvE on the beta environment, so it was even more silly before that. And they also nerfed the duration of Silco's chemical potion. I don't know what his ability is actually called. It was initially 8 seconds. They nerfed it down to just 6 seconds. So definitely a lot weaker now. And again, notice how Ahri looked like she was going to die, but she's got all that healing from the Gunblade. She's got the healing from Syndicate Trait. She tosses out her orbs, and then she heals right back up close to full again. So that is the strength of Ahri. And that's kind of how she's intended to be played. Okay, so there's some good Ahri items here. Like, the Jeweled Gauntlet would be fine. I don't think it's, like, her best in slot. I would rather have mana generation, but I certainly will take it if it's there. I could also take the Warmogs. I mentioned how Warmogs is not a bad Ahri item, so I was thinking, oh, maybe I can get that. But again, I'm last pick. I've been last pick on every carousel. I also would not have minded the Static Shiv here, but that gets taken as well. Static Shiv also apparently not that bad of an item on Ahri. So out of all these choices, I was like, well, can't use Challenger Emblem. I don't think Zerat Portal is useful this late in the game. It's better in the early game. So I was like, I guess I'll take another Gargoyle Stoneplate, which is not bad for my comp because, again, remember, Ahri comps are stall comps. The goal is to stall out the game. So getting a gazillion defensive items is not that bad for this team composition. So I was like, I could put it on 1-star Braum or 2-star Darius. I was like, I'll put it on Darius. I have decent odds of 3-starring Darius. I am sitting at 7 of them right now, and I do have a Nico's help, so that's a possibility. Once again here, I'm going to reposition. Oh, by the way, I also should mention this. Remember how I made a Shroud of Stillness on Morgana? I went out of my way to try to make Shroud of Stillness because it feels like this item is better than it's ever been before with the new addition of being able to see who you're up against. Because you can now see who you're up against, you can really target the Shroud well. And I've been getting off some fantastic Shrouds in all of these fights. Now, it's not going to be enough in this battle, That person has VIP Draven, and he's going to cut through my front lines just too fast. Also, there was a Sunfire Cape on that person's board, and you may have noticed my team is very, very heavily based on healing. So Morello's Sunfire Cape's really, really bad for my team composition. At the moment, I'm going to pick up the Senna. Remember how I said earlier, Senna is a unit that I wouldn't mind playing? Senna will give me the Spotlight, although it's not in an especially useful location. But she's also going to give me another rank of Enchanter. Remember, Enchanter increases your healing and shielding, and that's going to synergize really well with my first aid kit. What's the official description of Enchanter? I've got the cheat sheet here, so I'll just read it. Your team has bonus magic resistance. Enchanters gain bonus healing and shielding. So your whole team gets MR as a result of Enchanters. It's not a lot. It's not like the old Mystic trait. You don't get that much. But then the Enchanter units themselves get bonus healing and shielding. That's mostly intended for Morgana, because I want Morgana to get bigger shields when she uses her ult. Now this fight's not going especially well. This is that person who was win streaking in the early game, Technical Tap. You might remember that name. So they're going to win, and they're playing like a Sivir Hextech-based team composition. So I lose those last 2 rounds. I can't say I'm shocked. By the way, I get yet another tank item. I get a Sunfire Cape here, so this is just a game for all tank items, apparently. It's like literally been nothing but tank items the whole game, in part because I was picking last on like every single carousel. But anyway, yeah, so I think Senna will be useful just to get up to 3 Enchanter. And again, the goal is really just to buff Morgana. Morgana is my main tank. With 3 Enchanter, her shields will be much larger than normal. Again, synergizing with First Aid Kit, which also increases shielding and healing. So we're just like going full bore on this whole shielding and healing thing here. And I still do have that Nico, so I'm hoping maybe I can use that for like 2-starring Silco or 2-starring a Victor if I can find him. Or 3-starring Ahri, although that's kind of unlikely. I'd also would like to maybe get 3-star Morg. So that's a possibility. I have 6 Morgs now, so I only need 1 more. There's Victor. So we'll move out of Malzahar and move into Victor and just play him instead. Again, having Silco to make it so Victor casts sooner is really nice. Ah, there's 2-star Braum. Excellent. So we'll look to move into that. And it looks like that's all we're going to find for the time being. But let's go ahead and put the Chalice on. I didn't quite have time to finish positioning my team. I just tossed the Sunfire Cape on Darius. I was like, I've got 8 Dariuses here. He's probably going to get 3-starred, so I'll put this on him over Braum, because I think he's more likely to be useful. So I'm up against the other person playing Ahri, but you can see this is not especially close, and I'm able to knock out the other Syndicate player, which is great, because now those Syndicate units will go back into the pool and be available for me to grab. So this looks like it's going to be my final board, barring something weird happening. 5 Syndicate, 3 Enchanter, 2 Bodyguard, 2 Scholar, 2 Arcanist, and the Spotlight, which sadly is not in a very useful spot. So hey, we get 2-star Senna, that's something. I mean, not terrible. So I'll position her on the opposite side from my carries. And sadly, I have not hit. I'm hoping to find 1 more Victor or 1 more Silco, and then I can use my Nico. Or find 2 more Morganas, and then I can Nico for Morgana 3-star. So that's the hope. This time I don't know which comp I'm going to be up against, but the good news is I can kind of position the Shroud in the same spot for both of them. Again, note that Ahri, and I'm going to get off a fantastic Shroud here once again, so that's just great. Once again, note that Ahri is positioned in the 3rd row, as Silco gets grabbed for some reason. Not exactly sure why he got grabbed. Blitzcrank can be a little weird sometimes in terms of who he pulls. So yeah, we're going to be able to take that out. The main unit we need to kill is the Draven, so can we manage to get Ahri up there to kill the Draven? Great shield, by the way. Another fantastic Ori shield. So, oh, that Draven's low. Can we finish him off? And no. Ooh, very close. Not quite able to pop the Draven. That was actually a ghost round, as it turned out. But we weren't quite able to finish that off. So, do find another Morgana. So that's something. So now I'm at 8 Dariuses and 7 Morgs. I could, of course, just Nico the Darius, but Nicoing for 3-star Darius does not really feel like the best way to use this when I could also Nico for Silco or Victor or with 1 more Morg for 3-star Morg. So I'm just trying to be patient here. I know I'm going to be up against the Sivir comp, so I'm going to swap my positioning to the other side. I still have my Shroud pointed at them. And why am I swapping to the other side? Well, the main reason is I'm hoping that Alistar will flub his targeting. I know where Alistar is. I want him to troll his ult, and oh, look at that. Alistar completely trolls his ultimate. Instead of hitting my tightly packed mass of my team, he just runs over and hits Braum or somebody over there on the right-hand side and just does nothing. He literally hits nothing in the fight. So this is why Alistar is just kind of a mediocre unit right now. His targeting is just appalling. They really need to fix his targeting. So I was planning on Alistar trolling his ultimate, and he did. Thank you, Alistar, for making that fight much better for me. All right, so we've got more options here. What item do I want to go for? Well, there's two things that are really fascinating here. There is a Clockwork Emblem and a Syndicate Emblem, and I had a really tough time picking between the two of these. Ultimately, I opt for the Clockwork Emblem because that'll get 2 Clockwork in with Orianna. Alternately, though, I could have taken the Syndicate Emblem, and the Syndicate Emblem would have given me the potential to play 7 Syndicate. I would have had to find an Ashe and play her. But I could have played 7 Syndicate, and 7 Syndicate is a huge bonus. By the way, you see me selling. There is an Ashe, by the way. So why do I not go for 7 Syndicate? It's such a big bonus. Well, a couple reasons. Number one, in order to play 7 Syndicate, I'd have to take out one of my other units for Ashe, and Ashe is basically useless. Ashe wouldn't do anything in this team comp. I decided I was thinking, you know, I'm really benefiting from the 3 Enchanter. I just didn't want to give up the Senna in favor of Ashe, who would be useless. Now, again, 7 Syndicate is a huge bonus. All units on your team get the Syndicate bonus, not just the Syndicate units. So, like, it would apply to Victor, it would apply to Orianna, so, like, they would also get the benefit. As here, the entire team has to murder the Draven. And, like, that is a huge benefit, but it's like, is that better than, is that worth giving up Senna and also not having Clockwork? Like, getting Clockwork on my whole team is also really good. So I decided that it was close enough that I valued the Clockwork plus the Enchanter. Again, keeping in mind that I have First Aid Kit, so Enchanter is better than usual. And it was also on a 5 gold Zeri. So that also tipped the scale too. It was on a 5 gold champion instead of like a 2 gold champion. So all of that went into the calculation. I think it was pretty close, but I was happy with the with taking the Clockwork. By the way, I don't even get to use my Nico because I found the 2-star Victor naturally. I didn't find another Silco, and I didn't find another Morgana. Now, I knew I was going to get shrouded in this fight, but I still wanted to position on this side because, again, same thing happens as in the last fight. Alistar just runs off and targets nothing. So even though I know I'm going to get shrouded in this fight, I still preferred that targeting, and it looks like that was correct. Alistar hits nothing. We easily win this fight. My carries stay safe. And that's going to be a win. And I think I won with like 50 HP in the lobby, so not especially close. Gunblade for the win. Ahri and Malzahar's First Aid Kit really dominated this game. So if you can stack up additional healing and shielding on top of the innate Syndicate healing and shielding, it really does become a major benefit. I also do have to point out that this was a lobby with 2 silver augments and then a gold augment. I think Syndicate's also better in lobbies with weaker augments because with stronger augments, teams overwhelm the healing from Syndicate. With weaker augments, they don't do that as much. Anyway, once again, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time, have a good week and take care.